What is up, diehards? Wes Monell and Drew Lacuesta in the building for AWOL Sports. We got our 10 questions today. There we go. Cheers. We're a month through the NFL season. It feels a little bittersweet to me because I love me some football. I'm happy it's here. I love fantasy. I love reviewing all these games. I just can't believe it's already a quarter of the way through. That part bums me out because it seems my life flies by when there's football season. So, anyways, moving forward, if you're listening to this, you're diehards, and I know you feel similar. We're here with the questions. Here we go, Drew. First one for you. Green Bay finished 13-3 last season and reached the NFC Championship game. Right now, they're 4-0. Are they legit Super Bowl contenders again, or do you see a glaring dead end that most of us saw last year?
No, 100% Super Bowl contenders. And they were Super Bowl contenders last year. They just seem to run into the Niners wall that everyone else that the Niners faced ran into. They got exposed. I mean, a great coaching staff, obviously, there with the Niners. First year head coach with LaFleur. First time Aaron Rodgers in this offense. And they were exposed too. So, hey, at the end of the day, if you were watching that game in prime time against from Green Bay against Atlanta, Matt LaFleur in the first 20 games is 17-4 with a loss in the playoffs to the Niners, but regular season 17-3. It looks like he knows what he's doing. They had a trouble scoring in the second half last year. They fixed that. They're one of the best second half scoring teams this year. You know, they had a lot of trouble running the ball consistently. Aaron Jones would have a breakout game in 2019, and then he would have one or two games where he kind of slowed down a little bit. They weren't as confident. Now it looks like the offense is completely balanced. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen Aaron Rodgers smile this much and play around with these, buddy punches to his coach. But hey, everything looks good. There is absolutely no doubt that this is a Super Bowl contending team. But this league, as you and I both know, it's all about matchups. So it really just depends on who they get matched up against in the playoffs. If it's someone like Seattle, they definitely have a hot chance. Seattle can't stop anybody. And I like Green Bay's running game, even on the road, better than Seattle's. Philly right now, that's a little bit of a soft subject. The best Philly team that I know, and I bet that they would put on the field when it comes to December and January, I would bet on Philly. Right now, I think Green Bay has the edge, but I just think for what Philly can produce, I had them in the conference championship. I think eventually their run game will be, like you said, Miles Sanders or bust. But as long as they're committed to it, I think they could do enough if all their weapons are there offensively. But we still haven't seen the best, I think, from this defense. I think they're very underrated with Nikel Roby-Coleman and Darius Slay. Darius Slay slowly, every single week, has been putting his name back out there as one of the best corners in the league. That's going to be trouble for Davante Adams. Now, we have seen, I was raving about Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers having an almost perfect passer rating and 0 interceptions when Davante was out last year. But that's a whole different breed. It's going to be the playoffs. They showed weaknesses against San Francisco. San Francisco could stop the run, and Aaron Rodgers didn't have enough time for his receivers to beat man coverage. I don't think we have fully seen these receivers besides Devontae beat man coverage, and he hasn't gone really against an elite pass rush or someone that can stop the run game with Aaron Jones. So until I see that, I don't want to mark him as a for sure Super Bowl position team. I think they can definitely make it. It just really depends on what their matchup is along the road.
For sure. Last year, I thought they were absolutely headed for a dead end, regardless of what they did during the regular season. It's just kind of what I saw. That big donut in the middle of their defense. They couldn't stop the run. They just couldn't. So this year, I don't know, man. I think any team that commits to running the ball, I like that Green Bay has pass rushing and man-to-man corners and a future Hall of Famer at quarterback and one of my favorite running backs. I don't know about Davante Adams' durability. There's a reason he doesn't have a contract extension yet. And I don't trust any other pass catcher other than a running back. Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, we've seen them be productive in that aspect. I don't think that's a good thing, but it is a recipe that's working for them. It hurts. They lost Alan Lazard. I know he wasn't a household name, but I thought he was going to be one of the breakout players of the league, especially for that team that needed a second guy to step up. Who knows? Maybe it's Robert Tonyan. I mean, if you're into fantasy, you probably scooped him up. If you're tight end needy, I get it. It's the position. I can't say that I'm sold on Green Bay's run defense. I can't say that I'm sold on their pass offense. You know, we see Chris Godwin out, but Tampa Bay's still moving the chains. We see Julio Jones out. It's affecting the Falcons. So there's two total different ends of the spectrum there. Aaron Rodgers, he's been holding it down because he is that damn good. But for how long? We saw issues with him while they were going 13-3. I could foresee some more issues. But hey, at this point in time, after a month in the season, I'll say they could be legit contenders. Looking down the road, I kind of don't buy that. But that's just me. You got a question for me, Drew?
Yeah, man. A little bad news for the Texans. Bill O'Brien is out. Some may think it was premature. Some may be applauding and jumping off the couch with the pom-poms, ready for the Romeo Crennel era. Doesn't really matter which side you're on. I could see both sides, but whether it's this year, maybe this coming off season, or early next year, what would be the scenario? And which coach do you think is on the hot seat and most likely on his way out?
Oh, throughout the league?
Yeah, anyone.
Oh man, a guy that you point out a lot is Matt Patricia, and I do have the Lions as a playoff team in our preseason predictions. That's one right there. You point at Dan Quinn all the time, every week. I feel like he did something to you, but nah, he garners all that himself. He it's how his team plays or doesn't play, actually, if we want to get specific there. And I'm looking throughout the league. Those are the two main ones right there. I don't see a reason for Jacksonville to move on. And that's kind of Adam Gase is the obvious choice to be the next head coach on the outs. Although we did see a report this week that he's gonna be the head coach the rest of the season at the very least, and we know he was friends with Joe Douglas, general manager. That's kind of why Joe Douglas is now in town. So for the next coach, even though we all want it to be Adam Gase, it's probably going to be Dan Quinn, like you've mentioned numerous times. And if I had to pick a second, I guess it would be Matt Patricia, man. I don't think the Lions season is over. I buy the Lions, but that locker room's got to buy the Lions, and we'll see. They have to bounce back, but I'd say for sure it's the guy that you've been telling us all about last year and this year. Dan Quinn's probably the next to go.
Yeah, that's exactly how I had it. Dan Quinn is the most likely. To me, with how the past 2 years have gone, and then including this year, it's just repetition. They're not winning games to start the season. They wait until the second half of the season to start winning games. But just the way that they're losing, you can lose games, but you can't lose it 2 weeks in a row when you have a 98% win probability calculated by Pro Football Focus. By Next Gen Stats. So pretty tough losses there. And then obviously another big loss. Their secondary is injured, so we can't really see it getting better. They don't really have a pass rush. Julio Jones is down, so maybe this offense struggles a little bit. It's just all bad. I don't see room to improve it's not like they have depth and they're losing their depth. So, yeah, Dan Quinn's definitely my number one, and you're right on with the number two. I think Matt Patricia is definitely on his way out. They have the talent offensively, the great mixture of veterans and young stars. Same thing on defense. They have the right mixture of veterans and young stars. It's just not coming together. I mean, that was a pretty terrible press conference he had the other day where he was like, yeah, I came to Detroit, trying to turn the season around. Bro, they were 9-7 for 2 seasons in a row. And you haven't hit that. You're on your way out too, my man.
Ouch. But that is the truth, dude. Ouch, but that's the truth. I still buy the Lions, but moving on. Question number 2 for you. If the Cowboys mirror last season, elite offense that misses the playoffs, who of these 3 is gone? Mike McCarthy. I know he signed a 5-year, $30 million contract, but I am going to throw him out there. Kellen Moore and or Dak Prescott, who's on the franchise tag. All of them, one of them, or none of them, if they miss the playoffs.
Oh, man. That's tough. I think first up, it's not going to be Mike McCarthy. Why? Is because that was Jerry Jones's choice. He was in his house. He slept over in his mansion. Jerry Jones is not going to take the fall for that. Absolutely no way. Ego way too big. Mike McCarthy stays for at least another year. Jerry Jones does not want to be planted wrong right there in front of everybody. It's definitely going to be, if anyone, first scapegoat is going to be Kellen Moore. Because everyone understands the winning recipe for this offense. If you're going to scapegoat somebody, it's going to be the youngest coordinator. I think Mike Nolan should go along with him, depending on how this season goes, but I don't see them improving at all with that defense. It's not like he had a great stint in the past 4 years. There's a reason why he went from a defensive coordinator. Actually, there's a reason why he went from a head coach to a defensive coordinator to a position coach. It's just not working. A little outdated with the defensive there. Not to say he has the pieces, but still, you can't be last in the league when you have an offense that can stay on the field and produce. So I think it's a little mixture of both, more on the offensive side, but I think both will probably probably out by the end of this year. And who knows? I don't think, if you're smart, and I know sometimes the Cowboys don't think with their brains, they think with their wallet most of the time, or they think by TV ratings. Dak Prescott, he's got to stay, man. It's not like he's the reason that you guys are losing. So I think the smart play would be to at least sign him. You can maybe do a second tag on him, or at least sign him for another 4-year deal. It's not like you're going to throw the season depending on injuries, but you're not going to get one of those top 2 or 3 quarterbacks. Might as well go for another run. You have young weapons. You have enough young weapons. You could run with Pollard. You could even draft a running back. Doesn't matter in the first, second, or third round. You can find someone that could fill Zeke's shoes if he's not the player you expect him to be, or if you need to release that contract and get defensive players. You just paid 2 of those linebackers, and they haven't done anything. You said it yourself in the beginning of the season. Some of the worst-rated linebackers at the end of last year and to start this year. Something's got to change. DeMarcus Lawrence isn't coming up. Aldon Smith is outplaying DeMarcus Lawrence right now. So not really sure what's going on with that franchise. They need a complete overhaul, it looks like, but I definitely think it starts with Kellen Moore.
100% agree. I think anybody listening to this understands and agrees Kellen Moore would be on the outs probably before the season ended if they weren't winning games. Hard to see, though, in that division. I get it. I'm with you on Mike Nolan. I didn't throw him out there because I thought that was an easy, But, yeah, I agree with it. As far as Dak Prescott, yeah, and I'm with you on Mike McCarthy. Jerry Jones is not going to fall on the sword after 1 year. I had to throw him out there, though, because Jerry Jones wants to see a Super Bowl winner. He is getting older. He's not getting any younger. But that's why I threw him out there. Dak Prescott is interesting. We've seen teams crumble after paying quarterbacks, And if they have a comparable quarterback, whether it's Andy Dalton or someone different, or if you look into the draft, we've seen the Chiefs trade from 27-10 to draft Pat Mahomes. We've seen the Eagles move up twice in the same draft to go get their guy in Carson Wentz. It does happen. So the Ravens, they moved up into the first round at the very last pick. Lamar Jackson was their guy. So those kind of things happen. They had Dak Prescott on that rookie deal. He's now on a franchise tag, which is a lot of money. Do they want to pay him a lot of money to stay? Do they think they can find someone else that can get the job done with those weapons? Zeke, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. Maybe they need a tight end, but that's a lot of firepower right there. They could have used Lyle Collins. He's been injured. Tyron Smith, he's been in and out of the lineup. And that's their bookends right there. So that's tough on any quarterback, any team. I understand that. I'm just looking down the road financially. There's a reason they did not extend Dak Prescott, and they have all those weapons. If they don't make the playoffs, I find it almost a certainty they're not keeping Dak Prescott, or they'll go the Kirk Cousins route that Washington did, and they'll franchise tag him again. That's the way I see it. So, anything to add, or the next question?
Yeah, right before I move on to question 2, honestly, I've heard this a couple times on talk radio or on live sports talk in some channels, but until Jerry Jones takes a step back, which is obviously not his forte, he's got to take someone that can build the program. We see Carolina do it. We've seen other teams kind of build through the college ranks because that's what's working right now. You need someone that's amazing, A+ at recruiting, and you need someone that can control the room, that can control the locker room, whether it's a rookie or a 14-year vet, and you need someone that could turn his back on the owner or GM and say, I'm doing it my way. And I think they should have gone, or some team before he's picked up, they got to go with either Urban Meyer. I don't think the Clemson head coach Sweeney is going to leave because he's got a good thing going there. But Urban Meyer is a no bullshit coach. He can recruit the shit out of any state, and he can definitely run his program, and he could earn everyone's respect in that building, in that locker room. Another guy, Brian Kelly from Notre Dame. He's a no bullshit guy. He's not going to take any shit from Jerry Jones as long as he's hired. He can definitely recruit, and this is the best that Notre Dame football has been in a long time. And Notre Dame football is not a football program. They're an academic program. It's hard to get players to play for that team, and they're always competing for one of the top 4 or bowl games in the nation. So 2 guys, maybe somebody else, but if I were to choose 2, I don't think Jerry Jones will do it because of their big persona. He's going to be overshadowed, but I think some of those 2 guys should be looked at as building a Dallas Cowboys program that's not about the star. They're about the organization. Forget the highlights. Forget the ratings. You got to think football, and those are 2 of the deepest football guys that I've seen. But anyways, we'll go to question 2 based off of 2019. So crazy thing in 2019, once we hit week 3, 7 out of the 8 divisions, those teams that were leading the division, 7 out of 8 of them stayed and made and hit and won their own division. So out of the teams that are number 1 in their divisions right now, which one of them, if any, do you think are already decided as the number 1?
Oh, wow. Great question. Let's see. No, not Seattle. That division's tough. Tampa's got New Orleans. That's tough. Green Bay. It's got Chicago. No one in the NFC East. So the easy one is Kansas City in the AFC West. They're 4-0. The next team's 2-2, and the Raiders. The other 2 teams are 1-3. They're the reigning Super Bowl champs. They've owned the division in recent history. Yeah, it's the Chiefs, to be honest with you. And I'm gonna throw the Bills in that same category at 4-0. Don't care about the Patriots. I know they're 2-2. I don't care much about them. The Bills and the Chiefs look like locks to me, and I can't say any other division does. If I had to pick a third team that's the closest, would be Green Bay, but I can't quite consider them a lock yet. So I'll stick with the Chiefs and the Bills.
Well, let's flip the script on that one. I say the only division that isn't decided is going to be Baltimore taking the number one spot over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's number one right now. I think Baltimore ends up at the end of the year number one, but I think every other division is decided. Buffalo is taking that. Tennessee, I don't think Indianapolis with the game managing Philip Rivers will last that long. I still think they make a little playoff run, maybe inch into the 7th seed, but I think Tennessee's definitely have that on lock. You said Kansas City. Philly, I don't think they're going to lose that lead, especially the way that Dallas is playing. Green Bay, I think Chicago will be up and down, but still in the playoff hunt, but Green Bay is just on a roll. Tampa Bay, defensively, just amazing. So I don't think New Orleans – there's something different about New Orleans this year. And they don't look terrible, but I think New Orleans had to play amazing, sound football for the whole year. Obviously, they hit a speed bump losing Michael Thomas, but I think I don't think they could recover from that. I think Tampa Bay is so high on a consistent rise week to week. They're only going to get better throughout the season. And then I got Seattle kind of stretching it out. I think the Rams are doing something great early in the year without that many weapons or star big names. I just think towards the end of the year, it'll catch up to the Rams. I don't know how consistent the run game will be. I think Jared Goff is doing what he can with this offense early in the year, but once that tape is out, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher on Goff. So I do think all divisions decided except Baltimore will jump Pittsburgh.
Wow, that's bold. I think that's bold. I can't give the benefit.
2 years in a row, 7 of 8.
It's pretty crazy. I like it. I just think it's bold. I cannot at this point in time give the Bucks and Hawks the benefit of the doubt. I just can't. Even if I had them predicted to win their divisions after a month, I am not sold based off their play to be on that same boat. But I definitely see it. I understand it.
Fair.
So I'm basing it off a month of play, not our preseason predictions, basically. So, all right. I'm coming right back at you, man. So far this season, the Bengals have lost by 3, lost by 5, tied, and won by 8. They played the Chargers, Browns, Eagles, and Jaguars. 2 of them might make the postseason, being the Eagles and perhaps the Browns. They all 4 could miss out. But in comparison, none of those teams at this point in time is like the rival Baltimore Ravens. Cincinnati is a 13.5-point underdog. Would you bet on them against the spread at Baltimore this weekend?
Ooh. Man, I gotta love what I see from Joe Burrow. 3-point losses 2 in a row, a tie, winning by 8. Oh man, that's tough. So I'll take a look at their last game here. So lastly, I had them. If they're going, and they're going to be traveling, right? So it's going to be at Baltimore.
At Baltimore, underdogs by 13.5.
One at home. Okay, so this is what I usually look at. Home teams. Baltimore just faced Washington, and they beat Washington convincingly. But I don't think for Baltimore's pride, that was enough of a win because it was a little bit of a slow start for Baltimore in that game, if I'm not mistaken. I think they still have something to make up for that loss against Kansas City on national TV. I think this is an opportunity for them, especially against a division rival at home. They did beat Washington in Washington, but as far as their home game, the last home game memory for these fans or national television was Kansas City. And as much as that game wasn't really a blowout, it was a blowout. I mean, their first offensive touchdown came in the 4th quarter. I think they have a lot to prove still, and this is a good spot for them to show that they are an elite level and definitely much differentiated from Cincinnati. I think I would bet Baltimore on this spread.
Wow, that's a
I
monster.
think the money publicly, though, I think publicly the money will be on Cincinnati.
Yeah, they say 9 or 10, and it's smart to go with the underdog. Usually, kind of like blackjack, you don't hit on 16. You kind of play it safe. Man, I know a lot of people want to pick the Ravens in a blowout. I'm not doing that. I'm betting Cincinnati this weekend to lose by 13 or less. That's pretty much what it is. They don't have to win the game if you go against the spread. Ah,
Right.
and hey, that was not a road game against Washington, man. That was a short bus drive over there in their cousin's backyard and just beating up on a little cousin after messing around for a quarter. That's how I see that game. And yeah, Baltimore's strong, man. They're strong. I think they got their feelings hurt in that Kansas City game. And, you know, I think Joe Burrow and this offense can throw on him. It's going to be tough. He's going to get hit a lot in this game. Calais Campbell and the boys up front. I know the corners are tough. They're going to get in the face of some young receivers like Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. I know all that. I just liked kind of what we both talked about last episode and the Bengals defense. I know they're better against the pass, but if you can make any team one dimensional, you can be in that game. So, for that simple fact of I think they can move the chains on Baltimore and they can make them one dimensional offensively where Lamar is going to run or a running back's going to run. We're not going to see Marquise Brown be Hollywood Brown this weekend. And Mark Andrews is a little too inconsistent for me, man. I've always been hesitant to throw him in that elite category. I still refuse to do so. I got to see more. I'm going Cincinnati against the spread. You think I'm crazy?
All right. All right. No, we'll mark that down though. That's a pretty good wager right there. But 13 is a big number. I think Baltimore just has a little bit more to prove. I think since Cincinnati is feeling good about these losses and wins, so I give the chip on the shoulder. We haven't seen that breakout game from Lamar yet. I think it's going to happen here, especially against a division rival.
Ooh. All right. You want to put a low friendly weight? You want to put a 20 on that or a lunch or something?
let's do it. Let's put a 20 on it.
All right, cool. I'll take Venmo. It's cool. Cheers.
Perfect. I'll just request the money as soon as the fourth quarter hits quadruple zero.
Why you gotta wait? I'll request it right now. Venmo.
Anyways,
Go for it.
all right. So undefeated teams. Still got a few of them. Of course, my phone's dying. Anyways, undefeated teams. I'm sure you know who they are. Buffalo's one of them. Pittsburgh. You got Tennessee still, Kansas City, Green Bay, and you got Seattle. So out of any of these undefeated teams, maybe none, but if you were to choose one, which one of them is most likely one and done in the playoffs?
Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh to me, I'm not in love with their offense and I like their defense a lot. I don't love it though. I think they can be had down the road in situational football. There's just something you don't know if James Conner is going to be around, and if the backs can come through when he's down, you don't know which receiver can be the go-to receiver. And yes, I question Juju Smith-Schuster if you listen to this. I mean, there's Eric Ebron. I like Chase Claypool a lot. Just he's not that go-to guy yet. He's their big play guy, that flash guy. If they make him more of a focus in the offense, I'm open to watching how that offense unfolds and progresses. That is clearly to me the easiest one and done. I know their defense is awesome. I get it. I'm not picking the Chiefs to be one and done. I think the Titans. Oh, we talked about this. I think the Titans are better than the Steelers. I think the Bills are for real. I don't think this is a 2-year mirage
Yeah.
we're seeing. And the Packers, we think they're contenders. And the Seahawks, Seattle doesn't have that defense. They do have the weapons though that you can consider go to. They have Chris Carson, both those receivers, and of course Danger Russ. So yeah, I'm sticking with Pittsburgh. If I had to pick an NFC team, I guess I would pick Seattle over Green Bay to be the team because there's only 2 teams in the NFC. I guess I'd have to pick Seattle, but no, overall to answer your question here, I think the Steelers are the one and done team that's currently undefeated.
Yeah, and as much as I like the Steelers too, they do seem as a whole like they have too many questions. Like we've seen them with their elite defense, we've seen them underperform against a backup quarterback in Denver. And then we've seen them underperform a couple times offensively too, just not really finding the weapons um, in the needy moments. So I think offensively, they definitely need to show something. I definitely still think it's enough, obviously, to make the playoffs or even win one game. If it's kind of a tie for me, though, it's either Pittsburgh or the Titans. I do like the Titans coaching staff. I think Vrabel's one of the best up and coming coaches. I think based off of their run last year, though, it's going to be hard to duplicate that. I still have questions about Tannehill. I know he's on a great run right now. When Derrick Henry actually hits that wall, and I think it might happen in playoffs, I think a lot of teams will sell out to force Tannehill to beat him. They've already had some injuries on the defensive side, so who knows? We haven't really seen that much from Beasley. Is Clowney going to show up? Is he not? I think those are the 2 big pieces that are going to make him ride to the end of the at least win one game. It's going to be Beasley and Clowney because I think they're going to have to play some kind of catch up or they're going to have to play some kind of shootout. I don't think it'll be all on Derrick Henry's shoulders. It's hard for a running back to carry a team that deep into the playoffs 2 years in a row.
It really is. It really is. Next question. Nick Foles didn't have that same magic starting for the Bears in week 4, probably because he started. Here are their next 8 games. Bucks, Panthers, Rams, Saints, Titans, and then all of their division rivals. Considering 13 games started is Foles' season high, whether by injury or record, will we see Mitch Trubisky leading the Bears again this season?
It's hard to say about the injury. Obviously, we don't hope for that. I know Foles has a history. But at the same time, I think this offense has done a pretty good job about getting the ball out. They were doing it with Trubisky. They're going to do the same thing with Foles. They have enough weapons where they can. I think also Matt Nagy is one of the most underrated coaches or play designers in the league, an Andy Reid prospect. But I think they're going to do enough. I mean, they were 3-0. They're 3-0 with Trubisky. Obviously, they came and faced on what I think is the best defense in the NFL so far, the Colts. And that was tough. I mean, it definitely showed some struggles, but you got to give Foles a chance. He didn't really have a full chance to be on the field with this offense. I don't think it's going to be an issue moving forward. I still think for this team and this roster, he's the best quarterback moving forward. Are they going to be elite? No. Are they going to make enough plays? I think yes. I think they'll still be in week 16 and 17 in the playoff hunt. I think they squeeze in. I think we'll see up and down games from Foles, but for the most part, I think he will definitely be the clear quarterback to go with. Definitely making throws, making plays that Trubisky hesitates on. Obviously, he doesn't have the feet of Trubisky, but it's not about that. That's the reason why they drafted Montgomery. He's great at making defenders miss, and they have enough weapons on the offensive side. I think the receivers are actually pretty underrated. And for a guy like Foles, I know he'll do whatever it takes to get them the ball. And the defense, I think, will be improving every single week. I like the Bears' defense. I think their style of football is going to last. And I think Foles at least goes 2 games above 500 for the rest of the year.
So if I asked you to put $1,000 down Would you bet on Nick Foles finishing the season and no Mitch Trubisky?
Yes.
Woo! All right. All right. Clearly, I'm on the opposite
Yes.
of the spectrum there. I, I'm a huge Nick Foles
Yeah, but
fan.
it's also like you said, hey, they had to start Trubisky, whether it was Nagy's call or not. I don't think it was Nagy's call, but they cannot backtrack and go back to him. They are done. They didn't pick up the fifth-year option to start the season. That's a big tall tale there too. They're done. Trubisky's out. He's either going to be a trade piece or not starting. They're going through the draft. Obviously, Foles is not the youngest quarterback, so he's good for this year or next year, but they're definitely going to be going through the draft. Trubisky's out.
Hey, I'm not a Mitch Trubisky supporter or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm playing the odds. Nick Foles has only played double-digit games twice, 11 and 13. Hurt his collarbone twice. We've seen him start and not finish for 3 different teams now. So I'm just playing the odds as a big Nick Foles fan, but trying to be realistic at the same time. Odds are heavily against Nick Foles, man. Just saying. I think you know that.
And that's why we call it gambling, baby.
You're up.
All right, my man. We talked about rookie quarterbacks. They're kind of hot right now. We got a few of them. Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa. Tua obviously hasn't started yet. There is some chatter starting. We've seen Herbert. We love it, or you should love it at least. You've seen Burrow. You'd be an idiot not to love it. We've got 3 quarterbacks in very different scenarios, I would say. So, who do you think will have the better statistical start in their first 3 years?
Joe Burrow. He's got Zach Taylor, the offensive mind that came from. Which tree did he come from? Sean McVay. So, and it's working though. You see it. It's not just a handshake. Oh, let's hire that guy because he touched Sean McVay, like people wanted to say. Zach Taylor, I think he's doing a good job with that offense. I think what they're missing is some O linemen. That's pretty much their problem. That's why we didn't see Joe Mixon go off until last week, the 4th week of the season. Joe Burrow is a baller. We're seeing it day one. I do like what I'm seeing with Justin Herbert. Nothing against him. Tua, yeah, we haven't seen him in a game. I'm actually kind of disqualifying him for that. But if I had to throw him in, I'd still go with Joe Burrow, man. I love everything I'm seeing. The moxie in the pocket, take a hit on the chin, get right back up. He might miss a play, but he comes right back in. He loves the game. He wants to be the leader, and he's acting like it. I see it. I believe it. He's got the weapons, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. They're young. Dude, I love the future of the Bengals. And when's the last time someone said that besides the early years of Marvin Lewis when they got to the playoffs? Last time anybody that wasn't a Cincinnati fan that was watching the Bengals and rooting for them, Chad Johnson, who changed his name to Ocho Cinco, and then Terrell Owens joins the squad, and they're dancing all day. You have to go back a little bit more to see TJ Hushman-Zeta. That was awesome. I think we're going to get close to that in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is a big reason, man. Gosh, I don't have enough adjectives to describe Joe Burrow. I think he could be even more accurate with protection. He's kind of running for his life. Not necessarily in terms of scrambling for yards, but just moving around just to get the ball out of his hands. I like everything I'm seeing out of Joe Burrow. Not to throw any shade on Herbert. I think Herbert looks more than capable. He didn't really have time to prepare as a starter. He comes right in, pretty damn good. Almost beats the Chiefs. It took the reigning champs to beat him, the reigning Super Bowl MVP to beat Justin Herbert in his first career start in the 4th quarter. That's what it took. So I like it. And Herbert, man, he's showing a lot of things that Joe Burrow is doing. I just think Joe Burrow's better.
Yeah, it's hard to go against Joe Burrow right now. He's had the most playing time. He's had the more notable stress on his shoulders, and he's delivering. So I definitely like that there. I'm going to keep my answer short and sweet. I just don't trust any other team besides the Chargers. I talked about before how I really love how GM Tom Telesco is really hitting on almost every draft pick. So I think them being in LA, I think everything together, the Chargers' history about hitting the right draft picks, they always seem to have the right talent offensively and defensively. I think they so far the past few years have made the right decision on coaches, not just the head coach, but defensively and positionally. You don't really see that many holes in the Chargers coaching staff. I just can't trust 100% of the time what Miami has produced in the draft or some of the changes that they've made with their big name players. Same thing with Cincinnati. I think we kind of saw the best of the best when they had Dalton and Ocho Cinco, maybe even when Ocho Cinco was teamed up with TJ Hoosh. But who knows? It'd be nice to see a complete organizational overhaul for Miami and Cincy. It's just more of I'd love to see it first. I mean, we saw Dalton kind of come in and make some noise. I mean, he wasn't terrible. He was definitely a fantasy quarterback to have. He definitely had multiple touchdown games, plenty of times, and a great receiving core. Looks like they're kind of copycatting that right now. I think Joe Burrow is definitely a much higher prospect than Dalton and will be by the end of his professional career, but I just don't trust him. Can't trust Cincinnati. I can't trust Miami, even though I do like Tua, and I can't wait to see him start. Hopefully it's next year, not this year. But I'm going to go with Chargers and Herbert on this one.
Hey, you said stats and for the next 3 years. I'll double down and say stats for 3 years and career. And that's not really doubling down too much. It's the number one pick of the draft. I just look, you're right about how the franchises have been run in Miami. I agree. And Cincinnati, absolutely. Cincinnati had some success recently, not like 2 years ago recently, but they had some success. Chargers, they're kind of the Cowboys of the AFC. So maybe Herbert can throw some stats up like Dak Prescott, then fine. Look, you can have all that talent in the world. You got to get it done, right? So I don't trust the Chargers as much as you do, but I like the pick. I like the reasoning. And I got one more for you. What current player that is a future Hall of Famer are you going to appreciate watching while he's gracing our television before he hangs it up?
Oh, man. Future Hall of Famer that I appreciate watching that's playing right now.
That you know what? That you're really gonna miss him when he's gone. So you're gonna appreciate it all the way till his last game.
You know, man, we talked about you and I having much love for the running back position. I got to go with Adrian Peterson. I can't count how many times I wanted to draft him on a fantasy team, but not just that, just as a guy. I mean, you can't count how many times he's been a mentor to not only running backs but the quarterbacks too. No matter where this guy goes, every single player on his team loves him, and they call him AD all day for a reason. I don't know. This guy is like 59 years old or something, and he looks like he's running like it's his second year in the league. He's a physical freak. Looks like he still has the cut ability, the strength ability to run somebody over. And he just seems like a humble guy. I mean, he faced a couple of media scrutiny with his son and all that, and he just kind of overcame that. He shut up and just kind of let his play do the talking. He stayed quiet for a while, but no matter where this guy goes, you never hear him complain. He just wants to rock. He wants to win. We saw him. He was one of the only and one of the last running backs to actually carry a team like the Vikings, who had almost nobody on offense, to a playoff run. So pretty impressive. I think he's going to go down just like LT, as one of the best running backs we have ever seen. Um, Man, I'm gonna love watching his highlights. I still do watch his highlights. I'll probably watch him even more when he's gone. But even him going to the Lions, man, he just picked up that playbook, ran with it, and he looks youthful. And I can't wait for him to be on a network or on the NFLPA. I think he'll probably be doing big things even after retirement.
Love me some AP, man. That's all day. And dude went with an MVP campaign after tearing up his knee. People thought he was done then. Fast forward, dude, it's been like 6, 7, 8 years later. He's still playing in the league. He's still a starting running back. And right now he's got what is it? 3 20+ yard runs. Second in the league right now, only to Nick Chubb. Unfortunately, he got injured. But yeah, man, AP all day, dude. Gosh, man, he loved that contact. Nose for the end zone. Carried the Vikings for years, like you said. So likable. I wish he broke that single game rushing record where they interviewed him right after the game. He's like, "Oh, I was like 9 yards shy." Like, humble dude, man. Just a football player. Love that guy. A guy for me, and I know it, and I'm kind of looking at it this way. I've appreciated Tom Brady already. I still am. So I'm not going to have a regret watching or taking Tom Brady for granted. I think Aaron Rodgers has time left. So I'm able to kind of cheat my way through my answer down the ranks here because A-Rod's not close to done. Drew Brees maybe, but I'm sure all of us have appreciated Drew Brees. A guy that I don't want people to overlook because maybe with this injury riddled start to the season, maybe this is the beginning of the end for Quintorris Lopez Julio Jones. That's his government name right there. I'm going to miss Julio Jones when he's gone, and in part because I miss Megatron, Calvin Johnson, and his career ended a little too abruptly for me that I wound up regretting not paying a little bit more attention on Sundays to Calvin Johnson. I'm not going to make the same mistake with Julio Jones. 7 seasons over 1,000 yards. Dude, this guy, throw him a screen, throw him a comeback, a slant, a go. It doesn't matter. He can carry your team, if not to victories, because it's so hard to do that as a wide receiver. He's going to pace your offense and keep you in games. And that's what he did throughout his career. I want to see him bounce back this season. I don't want to see him go through injuries. That I don't want to see that career end on that type of note. He may be the Roddy White now, who he grabbed the baton from, and he will be passing that on to Calvin Ridley. That's a foregone conclusion. That's how Atlanta has been operating. It's been successful for them. I just don't want this year to be the last year. I want to see him get through it. I love me some Julio Jones, and I don't know, man. What do you think about Julio, dude? And possibly how his career might close.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of a concern. I mean, at least I hope not, of his injuries or him closing it out. I think he'll do whatever it takes to get on the field, hopefully safely this time. Might have been a little bit too early them putting him back on the field against Green Bay. But you're talking about one of the most consistent wide receivers in the NFL. You said it, 7 years, 1,000 yards. But just to take a look at some of the plays that he converted, he can make anything happen, whether he's single covered, zone covered, shaded, double covered. It just didn't matter. He was the right size. He was bigger than everyone else. He was faster than everyone else. He was stronger than everyone else, and he ran better routes than everyone else. It's hard to find a receiver nowadays that has all of it and that can continuously game plan for, and he would still beat you. So We talked about Matt Ryan. I think that's also a credit to the duo for Matt Ryan throwing him the football. I think Matt Ryan is one of the best pure passers of the NFL that we will regret not appreciating also in the future. But definitely Julio Jones, uh, just you can't wait, especially in prime time, to see this guy in the field. You never know when he's going to take a 2-yard slant to the house or just moss somebody in the end zone and go up one-handed or toe tap in the end zone. There cannot be enough highlights about Julio Jones. It's pretty cool to see, obviously, the wide receivers coming into this league, young ones, and obviously some talent out there, but it's going to be pretty hard to duplicate what Julio Jones has done.
That's for damn sure. Yeah, I can't believe I made that mistake of kind of letting Calvin Johnson's latter year get by me a little bit. I watched the games, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't watching Calvin with this fascination that I should have. I'm not saying this is it for Julio, but from now until the day he hangs him up, I'm going to appreciate any game that he suits up in before it's too late. And let me throw a cheat extra question here just to piggyback off of it. If I gave you Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, and Antonio Brown, where would you throw Julio? 3 or 4?
Oh, man. I put him top 3 for sure. It's got to be in the mix of I'll throw 3 different receivers out there. Obviously, you got to respect what Randy Moss has done, but I think with the emergence of the wide receiver position and the help they're getting with the new style of play, coverage, everything kind of favoring the passing game. I mean, like the guy or not, Antonio Brown is one of the nastiest route runners we have ever seen. I think maybe he's number 1. He just always seems to be open. And same thing with him, man. He's not the biggest guy out there. Don't forget, this kid is a 6th-round draft choice, and he just made it happen. He didn't come into the league as the star, as a starter, didn't do it his first year, but he earned his keep. He is always open. You know, Chad Johnson or Chad Ochocinco used to say it's one of the funniest lines every time he was mic'd up. There's only 3 things in life that are guaranteed: death, taxes, and 85 is going to be open. You could say the same for Antonio Brown at 84 or whatever number he decided to wear. I think 17 with the Patriots, but ridiculous. He's got the speed. His footwork was unmatched. We always saw Chad Johnson in his highlights working in the boxing gym with his footwork. I think Antonio Brown's footwork was better. So top 3, I'll go Terrell Owens just because physically before Julio Jones, it was T.O. He brought the highlights. He brought the smack talk. But physically at the line of scrimmage, nobody can match T.O. Same thing for Julio Jones. I think that's kind of what Julio Jones monitored his game after. So you got to love some T.O. I'll put T.O., Antonio Brown, and Julio Jones in the mix for receivers that I would choose, to be honest.
Hell yeah. I love it. And then one last wrinkle. I'm getting greedy here. It's just kind of fun. Those 3 guys you just put. Now, tell me where you rank Calvin Johnson with him.
Man, Calvin Johnson had some injury history too. Oh, that's tough, man. He's got to be right in there. Obviously, he had the height, but along with that height, he had the speed. So, man, he might actually have the edge just being able to throw it. I mean, we've seen him catch balls in traffic with 3, 4, 5 defenders sometimes. So that's 6'5", 6'6" frame, and his vertical is just nasty. That's tough, man. I think it's kind of hard to choose between 2. I think we're honestly missing a couple. Also in Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and some of the receivers that we should be looking out for. Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. Who knows, man? There's so many receivers out there. I guess it just depends on your style. I would like to mix it up. But damn, it's pretty hard. I feel like T.O. is up there a little bit higher, and then I put Julio Jones and Calvin Johnson right on the same level if I had to choose, but damn, man, you gotta love Marvin Harrison. He made some of the most beautiful ballet type catches on the sidelines that I've ever seen.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. And one of my favorites, you brought him up, is Torrey Holt. I love Torrey Holt, man. Isaac Bruce was no slouch. We're talking about the greatest guys, some of the greatest here of our era. Man, if I had to rank, I got T.O. as my favorite, as the best wide receiver I've ever watched of all time. Randy Moss just wasn't always there, man. So I kind of don't really have Randall in the top five, but yeah, I think Julio's there. I mean, I got I got To. I know there is this stigma on AB that he couldn't do much without Ben Roethlisberger. When he had Big Ben, dude, AB was sensational. I'm too much of an AB guy on the field, at least. I I think AB is probably the second best, right after To. I think that's just like your list so far. And then, yeah, I'm gonna exclude Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne. I'm gonna exclude them and try to narrow down on Julio, Calvin, and DeAndre Hopkins. I would probably go Julio over Calvin, and then Calvin over DeAndre Hopkins on that list right there. That's tough. And thanks for letting me cheat with like 4 extra questions in there. Uh, that's what it's about, though. You talk ball, and then you just kind of get in that spiral, kind of like a YouTube hole. Uh, you have any other questions?
Yeah, exactly, man. And who knows? Right after we shut this down, it might be 2:34 in the morning, but I might be on those wide receiver YouTube video holes, looking up highlights maybe from 10, 15 years ago, or last week, this coming week matchups. It's all fun, man. I think it's one of the lost arts, one-on-one receivers versus corners, and corners never really get the love nowadays. But man, maybe that'll be a different segment. Maybe that's another player that I'll shout out next time, and instead of a Scotty Miller receiver, I want to throw a little corner out there. Um, but yeah, man, we talk a lot of numbers in football. We talk a lot of analytics nowadays. We talk a lot of records. Um, I want to see maybe what you've been jotting down. I know you have plenty of different little tidbits throughout the day in your phone, on your laptop, of cool stats, unknowns, things that go unnoticed, things that you think about that you think other people don't think about. So this is two small ones that I've kind of seen. 10 out of the 12 last year, right? We got 12 playoff teams. 10 out of those 12 playoff teams were the top as far as turnover battle. Playoff football, we pretty much know that that's a given. But the teams that didn't make the playoffs were Indianapolis and Pittsburgh. Those are the only two teams in the top 12 that didn't make the playoffs. One thing I think it's not really so reliant on defense, maybe situational, but 9 out of the 12 top point scorers in football last year made it. There are 3 teams that were in the top 12 scoring that didn't make it: Dallas, Tampa Bay, and my Rams. Just wanted to be curious, man. I know you do a lot of homework and you see a lot of things. Anything that pops out at you that could be interesting, or some people that I've overlooked?
I don't think you overlook anything. I just think it's shedding a light on things that stand out a little more. To be honest, man, I'm going to shift it a little bit away from stats because, yes, I do live in stats, like point differential and all that, which is huge. Like, that's part of how I bet. I kind of want to share something off of that. It's a tangent off of it because you kind of gave me the platform for it. Man, I love looking at the point spread. I really do. I find it fascinating. You know why? Because it's such a week to week league. Man, you see Miami beating the Patriots the past couple of seasons, and we think, oh, this team should go 13-3 or whatever. It doesn't always happen that way. That's not how it goes. Football is not pretty. I'm always interested in the betting aspect. I bet every week, even DFS and fantasy and all that. Uh, and I love your turnover category, man. Yeah, that's huge. That's kind of the name of the game. You get turnovers, you're going to win football games. You're probably going to be in the playoffs, unless you're just terrible offensively. But I mean, we've seen some Bears teams, some Ravens teams make the playoffs against all offensive odds. But yeah, dude. I mean, you're making me dig into my notes. I mean, I love doing rankings, and people don't pay attention. Like, oh, let's rank top five. I'm like, no, stick to let focus a little bit. Rank these players by position, by their division first. That's how you really narrow it down to be like that's how you get to your top five instead of just
Yeah.
mouthing something off. And you see how I do things with our notes. We share our documents and stuff where I have a whole Excel sheet where it's got quarterback, running back, backup quarterback, RB2, wide receiver 1, 2, and 3, and then how they rank as a duo, how they rank as a trio. And I bring all that up because that's how we come up with our team season predictions. We did the shows with our season predictions, how the division is going to play out, and why we have teams in the playoffs. That's where my homework starts. Is all right. I even do it for defense, which is much harder to do. You just have to watch so much film to do it. So I respect the teams, every week and the scouts. So I'm primarily stick to the offensive side of the ball. So I feel like I know what I'm talking about. And yeah, man. So I like to chop it down to all right, who's got the best QB situation, best backup QB, and I'll go as far as their O line too. I'll lean a little bit on PFF, but as far as notes, man, I'll use PFF and I'll use the stats we look up, next gen and advanced stats on Pro Football Reference and Outsiders, Football Outsiders, and etc. I always got to make sure it aligns with the eye test. If I'm not watching these games, I feel I'm cheating myself and I'm just repeating, kind of regurgitating what I see on TV or radio, which is why we have this show, because we don't regurgitate. If you hear something similar, maybe it's reinforcing what you may have heard, but I'm telling you guys, Drew and I watch all the games more than once, every single team. You probably heard us both touch upon your team at least one time in 4 weeks of action. If we haven't, hit us up, but I'm pretty sure we have, because we were doing all the game previews and the takeaways. But even so, in our 10 questions, we touch on so many things. So I actually challenge all you diehards, and I'll do a quarterly rankings too, Drew, since you brought it up, man. Because what's preseason is on paper. So I'll come out with some quarterly rankings for all the offensive positions, the skill positions, and break them down by division. And hey, that'll give you all a deeper dive into our minds. How does that sound?
All right. Yeah. I'm on board with that. I'm interested to see, especially it's kind of cool to see, like you said, man, it's a week to week league, but even more a quarter to quarter league. So we've seen a lot of teams come out in the hole, dig their way out. We see a lot of teams look like just they're just so unwound, and then they kind of pull it together at the end. So that'd be cool. That'd be interesting, man. It's especially now that we're done with 4 weeks. It'd be nice to see. I mean, what we think of our own rankings, or what we think progressively, and now what they're at, and what this next quarter will be. So cool, man.
Hell yeah! Thanks for letting me ramble on. I know I went on a tangent there, but you kind of asked for like, I know what you kind of thought you're getting, but it's not like I had
Yeah,
a plan. I just heard the question and it kind of sparked something like, well, you really want to know what's in my head and in my notes? That's kind of it. That was the breakdown.
exactly.
Cool, man. All right. Well, hey, diehards. Drew, you got anything else to add before we cut out?
No, man, it's honestly, yes, the season has gone by pretty quick, but I feel like the sample size so far, what we've seen is kind of slow motion, and I think we've gotten a lot of different football storylines and just results in these 4 weeks that it's still kind of hard to swallow. I feel like I need to go back and watch a couple more of these games just to be 100% sure, but I think I think things are going to change. I think a lot of the things that we think right now are going to be a lot different the next 4 weeks. So I'm pretty excited to see what changes, what sticks, and definitely sharpen our tools and be on point for the next 4 weeks here. I'm definitely looking forward to more betting games though. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get those picks live. So that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, there's player props, man. Those are so fun. I mean, I bombed a couple weeks. Not gonna lie. I'm not like spending to the point of like, oh, I'm in trouble now. Nothing like that. But
Oh yeah.
all right, diehards. Well, good luck this week in fantasy football. Don't forget Thursday, Buccaneers at Bears. Interesting matchup. The Buccaneers used to be in the same division as the Bears. They were the NFC Central. If you recall that, then you're probably old like Drew and I are. But all right, diehards. Good luck in fantasy. Good luck to your favorite team this weekend. We'll see you.